It's no news that this administration, led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, inherited a country that its economic state was poor. It's no news. They've reminded us a number of times, and we agree. But to the average person, what they can see is that this administration inherited a country that sold fuel at 185 naira at that time, and today sells fuel at 615 naira and above, depending on where you're buying from. They see that this administration inherited a country that had the dollar exchanging for something around 744 naira, but now dances, it dances anywhere between 1,000 naira and 2,000 naira to the US dollar. They inherited a country that was marred by insecurity challenges, yes, but today has expanded its kidnapping syndicates around the country. They inherited a country that already had 133 million 133 multidimensionally poor Nigerians, and that's of course talking about millions. And now the numbers have worsened by giving temporary solutions to the poorest of the poor. It's almost like it's a dance competition between these two administrations. And the song of choice is, how low can you go? Who would have thought that the day will come when some Nigerians will say, I miss the Buhari days? Now, I know that it's not that simplistic, as there are a lot of plans that are probably in place and a number of policies that have been rolled out to get us to where we are. But I don't know if the excuse of having inherited an economic mess is a good enough excuse. I don't know that this administration can say that it wasn't aware of how bad things were. In fact, some Nigerians will argue that this government is a continuum, seeing how during their campaign, they advocated on building on the legacies of the Buhari-led administration. Nigerians have even drawn similarities between the two administrations, and I'll give you examples. So some policies have been implemented in both administrations, though not necessarily bad in of themselves, but they have, however, come across as not properly thought through, especially as regards implementation and impact on Nigerians. Example, the Naira redesign policy in Buhari's administration, the removal of subsidy and floating of the Naira in the Tinubu administration. Now, these last two policies having been subject to different analysis by experts. Both administrations, of course, took their sweet time to appoint their cabinet, and when they did, some of the names didn't seem to be a right fit for the job. Now, this was quite a surprise, with President Tinubu, as one of his strengths had been listed as the ability to pick the right people for the job. However, when the list was announced, some names came as a shock. For example, what was Abubakar Momo's name doing as Minister of Youth? Yes, portfolios were reassigned, including his, and he ended up as Minister of the Niger Delta Development Commission. But can we all now agree that the mode of selection, screening, and appointment of ministers isn't without flaws? And maybe it's time to drive at selecting the man for the job as opposed to creating the job around the man. This is not to say that those ministers who had no prior background in the portfolios assigned them can't do well, not at all. But wouldn't it be better, easier, and much more productive to appoint to serve in ministries people who already have background, knowledge, and expertise in these ministries? Also, I think that it's time for us to work towards reviewing our mode of screening ministers. The current system that we have, where they are screened by the Senate and asked random questions, doesn't give the structure that should help for productivity and accountability. If, for example, we knew beforehand which portfolio each minister was assigned to, that would direct the line of questioning by the Senate during the screening process, and would also create an opportunity for these ministers to appear with clear plans for their ministries. These plans would then serve as KPIs by which these ministers' performances will be measured. Right now, it's vibes on vibes. A number of these ministers are just cruising. In fact, there are a number of them that we haven't heard of since their swearing in, but that one is a conversation for another day. This administration has resurrected the Stephen Oronsoye report, and this has gotten mixed reactions from Nigerians. Now, whilst the spirit of this report seeks to cut the cost of governance and can be referred to as laudable, one wonders about the seriousness of this administration. An administration that is keen on cutting the cost of governance should not have started out with a very robust cabinet, don't you think? It begs the question whether this administration actually believes in the promises it makes to the citizens of the country. Nigerians have been asked to endure these pangs, but has the leadership exemplified endurance by cutting unnecessary expenses? The role of the National Assembly in cutting the cost of governance is also another conversation that we will look into another day. President Tinubu says that calling for a strike in just 9 months of an administration is unacceptable. Okay, what about 10 months? And no, I'm not calling for a strike. I'm just a tired Nigerian, desperate for a change. Happy New Month to the presidency. It's almost the 10th month in office, and Nigerians are hoping to actually see the promised renewed hope. It's about time. And for those who keep saying that this administration needs more time, my question is, how much time is enough time? In 1989, Michael Cree released a song titled Time Na Money. 35 years later, and it rings true. Nigerians are tired of excuses, and promises will no longer do. The results should speak for themselves. As for me, my time is up for today on Which Way Nigeria. Good morning, Nigerians.